So, Brother Shatelko wrote this comment yesterday, and you guys can read it for yourselves. I'm not going to read it, but I ended up getting a good laugh out of it for a minute. And it's because it reminded me of a comment that someone left in the past. And you guys can read that comment. You guys can read my response to it there. And this is obviously under a different video. And under this particular video, I usually get one of 4 different comments, either a comment from somebody who went through what I was talking about, who's telling me thank you for speaking on it. I get a comment from people talking about, how much I cursed in the video. Comments from people with the all too common, it's not just Black people. And then you get comments from the parents themselves, okay? But I want to use that comment to speak to a broader audience, okay? I think it's a lot of people that need to hear that message, all right? Let me tell you guys a story. Lil Johnny had a pool party last weekend. It's a pretty good turnout. There were friends of many types there, had classmates, teammates, kids he grew up in the neighborhood with. It was hamburgers, hot dogs, chips, juicy juices, little hugs, goodie bags, cake and ice cream, the whole 9. Now, there was also a lot of parents in attendance at this party, but there were only 2 types of parents that were noticeable. The parents that taught their kids how to swim and the parents who didn't. See, you couldn't tell which parents were for the classmates or which parents were for the teammates. You couldn't tell which parents went to work or which parents worked from home. The only distinction that could be made between the parents were the parents who taught their children how to swim and the parents who didn't. Now, the parents who taught their children how to swim, whether it was by themselves or by getting them lessons, they were able to spend much of their time in leisure. They were able to mingle a little, lay back on the beach chairs, tan a bit. Of course, they checked on their child to make sure they were good, but for the most part, they were just able to enjoy the last of the summer's warmth because they had the peace of mind of knowing that their child knew how to handle themselves in the water. But the parents who didn't teach their children how to swim, they spent much of their time at the party working. Yeah, they were in a worried state, constantly monitoring their child to make sure that their floaties and vests were on properly, or to make sure they didn't drift into the deep end, because they had a heightened sense of understanding that if something went wrong, their child could possibly drown. See, there was a clear distinction between which parents had properly prepared their children to be in that environment and which parents had not. And look, it doesn't mean that they don't care about their child. They obviously brought, life vests and floaties and they constantly monitored them. That shows that they love and care for their child, but it still highlights the lack of preparedness that their child had in that environment. Now, obviously, if a child isn't prepared to attend a pool party, that isn't the end of the world. But it's funny to me how we can easily identify the lack of preparation at Lil Johnny's pool party, but we act like there's a difference when applying the same logic to life. And I actually like the swimming analogy, so I'm gonna continue on with it. But I believe, and I think we all would agree, that if someone was taught how to swim early, then they were giving swimming lessons. Then they were put on teams where they competed and had coaching. They would be a better swimmer than people who had not. I think we also would agree that the better approach to making sure your child is proficient at swimming is to put them along that path instead of tossing them into the deep end and yelling at them from the side of the pool on what they should do. And if one is clearly a better approach, then the question that then arises is why doesn't everyone take that approach? See, the truth of the matter is a lot of parents can't teach their children how to swim because they don't know how to swim themselves. And you can't teach what you don't know. But what I also found to be true is a lot of parents could care less if their child doesn't know how to swim because they don't view knowing how to swim as being necessary to enjoy a day at the pool. And once upon a time, AKA their day, it wasn't. But like I said in the last video, and make no mistake about it, that day is over. Because see, today, the one thing that all parents need to understand about this pool is that there is no more playing on the steps. There is no more splashing around at knee level. There is no more hopping up and down or walking on your tippy toes in 3 feet. There is only the deep end. Yeah, you're either sitting on the edge of that pool with your feet dangling in that water, or you're in that water swimming. And I take exception to this Because I know that a lot of us in the Black community are tossing our kids into the deep end, knowing that we never got them swimming lessons, but we're expecting them to be high-level swimmers, and that needs to stop. You know what you raised. You know what you did or didn't teach. Stop gaslighting them and yourselves into believing that they are ready for this when they are not. See, if school doesn't teach them about credit, and you don't teach them about credit, but you know they need credit to go out into this world and rent or buy a place to live, are they prepared? If school doesn't teach them financial literacy, how to budget, how to invest, etc., and you don't teach them, they are not prepared to be out here. These things are necessary to be a proficient swimmer in these waters. I know a lot of you think that parenting stops at 18, but let me make this as clear as I possibly can. If you don't use those years to teach them how to navigate through this life, you will be monitoring them, checking their life vests and floats until you do. And if you don't, and that monitoring stops, and those floats are no longer available, they will surely drown. Make no mistake about it.